Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Red Bra Project. We are back with an amazing guest. We're so excited to introduce you and share her an amazing, I was going to say incredible, amazing. I was going to try and blend the two words together. I'm off to a great start. So,
Like a celebrity couple.
exactly. So before we introduce Jen to you, I want to say hello to my amazing co-host, Shauna. How are you doing today?
I am good. How are you?
Great.
I'm living the dream here. I don't know how it's like middle of February already, is the realization I had today. Like always the fastest month, I feel, and snowiest.
It is true. It is pretty cold. And I just saw some crazy stat, like 70% of the United States is covered with snow right now. Like Texas, Houston, Galveston. It's crazy. Jen, you're in San Francisco, right?
Southern California.
Southern California. Oh,
Yeah.
even better. You don't have snow, do you?
No, I almost don't like to tell people my weather because it's like I hate you.
Yeah, I was just.
I've been wearing a tank top the last couple of days, so let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't know if you're gonna make friends with here tonight. I'm just kidding. And with that, we do want to introduce our incredible guest tonight. She's coming to us from Southern California and going to share a little bit about her story. And I'm so excited to talk a little bit about your topic of interest as well, being finance, because I feel like that's so important, especially for women to kind of make not so weird to talk about. So without any kind of crazy long-winded intros, I would like to introduce Jen Fontanilla, and welcome to the Red Bra Project. Jen, if you want to start off telling us a little bit about your background and what you're doing.
Yes, thank you, Renee and Shauna, for having me. So excited to be here and obviously to support the Red Bra Project. And as you mentioned, I have been in the financial space for about 16 years. And ironically, before that, and I was a graphic designer. I mean, I still am. So that's another side thing that I do, but it's been so interesting that I've tried to leave it, but the design and creative side always keeps following. So I say to people that I use both sides of my brain, the analytical when I look at the numbers, and then the creative when I look at branding and design and all those different things. But how I got started was, as all of us, well, many of us, I should say, we go to school and then you become an adult and then you look back and you think, like, how come we didn't learn XYZ in school? Why didn't they teach us that in school? And so when I was a designer, it was very lucrative. And I thought to myself, I went to college, but I didn't learn anything about money. Now, there was a big disconnect and I was very upset. And I'm thinking, like, this is really dumb. And so I didn't like how that felt. And I thought, I know how to make the money, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it other than putting it into the bank, a checking account, savings account. But you hear these terms like mutual funds and bonds and stocks, and then you're just thinking like, okay, I'm only doing one piece of the pie. Where are all these other words coming from? So long story short, went into finance, got the licenses. And then, so that was about 16 years ago. And for me, it's just been this incredible journey of showing people that it doesn't have to be confusing. It doesn't have to be scary, that when we can take ownership of it and really get a hold of, especially of our money mindset, that we can make incredible financial decisions so that we can move forward, so that we can create the life that we really want to live, not being in this fog and being lost because we're scared to address these things when it comes to money.
I was so excited when I saw like that you were going to be coming on now. We've wanted you as a guest for a while, but I feel like right now there's this crazy financial thing where everybody thinks they need to jump into the stocks because of this Reddit, the GameStop. So how do you feel about that? And how do you advise people to like go slow and that, just because one person made $1 million doesn't mean you're going to instantly do it?
I love that you asked that, Shauna, because there are people that will like message and then say like, hey, should I do this? And it could be anything. So here's the thing, whether it was something you read on Reddit, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's buying GameStop, whatever it is. The thing is that you have to pay attention to, is it being trendy? Is it that you heard that you should do this? And we get caught up in this, right? Especially when it gets on Reddit, when you see it on social media. And here's the thing, a lot of people want to jump into these opportunities, but have no freaking clue what they're doing. And a lot of times they see some of these things as hey, my buddy made a lot of money, so I can too. And that might be true, but a lot of times people haven't established the foundation, the basics. And here's the thing, basic isn't sexy. It's boring, but it works. and it's proven, but people want the sexy big next thing, but that could get you into a lot of trouble, especially if you don't know what you're doing. If it's something that you heard about, I always encourage people, why are you doing it? Think about that. I encourage people, think about why are you doing it? Because a lot of times the gimmick or the vehicle that you want to use in order to achieve XYZ result may not be the right thing. It's just because you heard that thing can make money, it doesn't mean that it's in the right time frame. It may not be suitable for you. That's a word we use in the financial advisor world, suitable. Does it make sense for your age group? Does it make sense with your goals? Does it make sense for the time frame in which you can expect that return? Nobody is thinking about this. Everybody's just looking like so-and-so made 5 figures like in one night.
Right.
Like, oh my gosh, this is not financial planning, right? And so am I against it? No. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing that people need to ask themselves is, why are they doing it? Do you understand what's involved? And do you understand what happens? And can you get out of it? Do you understand the rules? Do you understand what you could lose? Because there were many times where when I was an advisor, I'd talk to people and they'll say things like, well, I heard it was a good idea and then I had no idea I was going to lose this money, or I thought it was a good thing and then I didn't realize I couldn't access my money. And then I would always ask, did you ask certain questions? Did you ask the risk? Did you ask how you can get out of it? Well, no, I didn't. And so I just want to encourage people that if you do have this idea, there's nothing wrong with it, but understand what it is that you're getting involved with, no matter which one, which vehicle, which gimmick, which idea you're seeing or looking at. Ask a lot of questions before you jump into it.
Good advice. Very good advice. And Jen, I love your style because you take the kind of the scariness out of trying to understand all of the things finance, whether it's goal setting, saving, getting out of debt, learning what mutual funds and stocks and bonds and everything means. And so kind of talk to us a little bit about your approach. Has it always been that way? And why do you choose to kind of go that way?
Yeah, it's always been this way because before I got into this field, I remember I had an advisor myself. And it was, I was married before, and that's another story, and we can talk about that. But my ex-brother-in-law had this advisor, and this is what they do in the financial services world. They sit down with you as the client, then they ask you, well, the people that do this old school style, hey, do you have 10 friends and family that you can refer so that I can call them up? You know, it's just a nice fancy way of saying like, hey, introduce me to your warm market. So I was on that list. And so this is how I got connected to that advisor. And he wasn't bad. And I remember just sitting there thinking, this was a little intimidating. Some of this could go over my head. Luckily, I was able to follow it. But I remember clearly when I was going through that whole process, sitting down with him, I wasn't even in the field yet, but I remember when I started getting interested in going into the financial world, I told myself, like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it in layman's terms. I want people to feel comfortable, because one of the biggest things that I was getting feedback on was that people felt stupid. They didn't want to ask stupid questions. They felt confused. They feel behind. I mean, we've all been there. You see your friends. And again, I would tell people, like, stop comparing yourself to other people, because it's like a doctor. You might see somebody look healthy on the outside, but until you check their vitals and their medical records, you really don't know what's going on in the inside. And it's no different in finances. People see, oh, they got a house. They got like 3 cars and 2 Sea-Doos, and they go on these family trips. And then I'll come back and I'll say, yeah, but you know what? I see those people's statements. They're in massive debt. They don't own the house. They haven't even saved. They don't even have life insurance. And you're comparing this life reality of yours to somebody else's facade. And so people need to realize that when you're on my end, I see everything behind the scenes. And so I want people to realize, like, if you're comfortable and you start to understand this because you're getting educated and it's explained to you without guilt, without shame, that this is all about encouraging and educating so that you know what's going on, you're going to make informed decisions. You're going to feel good about this, because it's not going to work if I'm going to make you feel bad about all the F-ups you made, of all the mistakes and everything in the past. And then I'm going to say, like, you know what, you are really behind, like, you suck. Like, not that anybody would say it like that, you know, like that bluntly, but there have been people that came to me because they had an intimidating experience with somebody in the past. And I just kind of laughed to myself, because I'm like, that doesn't get anywhere. You lose somebody, and thankfully these people find an alternative. But I think about the people who might easily give up and go like, you know what, I had a bad experience, I'll just figure it out on my own. And when you try to figure things out on your own, you'd waste more time, and even worse, you waste money. So, it was just all these things combined that always told me, you know what, let's just be real with people. Let's be comfortable. Let's create an environment and relationship where it encourages people to have these open dialogue and conversations about money, so that they're not afraid, and that they turn their money mindset from fear to being encouraged, so that they want to learn about the money and not the opposite.
Yeah. And I think it is so hard to talk about it. And I think in our age group, we look at our parents and they really didn't talk about money with us. Like, we didn't know what our parents made. They didn't really talk to us about retirement. And so it is these uncomfortable conversations now that we're ready to have. But like you said, if you get to the wrong person, then you could be turned off. So
Totally. Yeah. And we don't want that, because then that person might not get help. And it's sad. It's sad because it really doesn't need to be that way.
I think there's a part of it too, and maybe it's kind of like old school finance a little bit, but if you use them, it's intimidation. I feel like some people try to gain clients that way, because if I'm speaking about something you don't understand and it looks like, or it comes across like I'm talking about this, you're going to want to learn more. You have to know what these things are in order to navigate your own finances. And so I think it's a little bit of a scare tactic that people are even intimidated to even sit down with somebody and put it all out on the table for fear of getting beat up. Like, man, I am not doing this right.
Yeah, I've seen it, I've heard it. People would end up coming to me, and I'll always ask, well, what was it about the last one you visited, or the last person you were working with? And a lot of times it comes down to feeling ignored and not being, they just don't feel like they're being heard. They feel like they're being talked down to, or things are just being put on them, versus let me listen to you. Let me listen to your experience and your situation, and let's not judge. Let's find out, okay, well, wherever you are, like, what can we do now? It doesn't matter. It does to an extent, but stop living there. Stop being over there looking at all the past mistakes. And I talk about this thing called financial forgiveness all the time, where you have to forgive yourself for those mistakes. Because if we keep holding ourselves to the past, there's no way we can move forward. There's no way, because you're still stuck there blaming yourself for allowing that ex-boyfriend to use your credit card, allowing, your ex-girlfriend to rack up debt, whatever it is. There's so many situations where we've allowed people in our lives to do damaging things. And sometimes it's, to our own detriment. Sometimes it wasn't, I would like to think most of us didn't plan for it, but it happens because that's life. We're here on Earth. This is Earth. It's like, not everything is perfect, but when we allow ourselves to stay there, then we can't move forward. And so I think it's so important for people to have a good relationship with their coaches, with their financial professionals, because there are always going to be situations that come up, life-changing situations. And if you can't talk to the people that are supposed to help you, that's not a good situation. You really need to have a good relationship with these people.
Yeah. When you made this shift, how did you, find the confidence, the motivation to do it? Because I think we have a lot of people that, tune into our show that are in that stuck place and want to do it, but don't know how to get that push or to actually pivot.
You're talking about my shift from going from
graphic designer to, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's so
sorry, I leave words out sometimes that are important in the question.
I'm trying to read between the lines. I'm like, context. No, you're fine. So, when I was a designer, the thing that happened for me at that time, so this is like circa 2005. And it was at that time when I realized, this thing working for somebody just is not cutting it. And what happened was, at the company I was with, I wanted to go to a friend's wedding, which was in Hawaii. And I didn't want it to be like a 2-day visit. I was like, I want to stay there for a week. And so when I found out from HR, I think I had only been there like a year or something. I've never been anywhere for longer than 2 years. That's how bored I get. By 2 months, I'm already like looking for a new thing. And that's when I realized, like, this is not for me. I need to do my own thing. And so
that's a good observation.
Yeah, I was like, I am jumping ship a little too fast. And when you go do the resume, you like have no gaps. I'm like, gaps is not my problem.
Right.
My problem is there's like 10
sustainability.
They think I'm unreliable. No, I'm extremely reliable. I just get bored fast. Mm-hmm. And so they told me that I needed to be there for 3 weeks. No, sorry. 8 years before I can earn the 3rd week of vacation. And when I heard that, exactly, right? I was like, what? Yeah, when I heard that, I was like, yeah, no way. No, 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 no. So I say I was plotting. So I started plotting like, okay, how am I going to leave? Why do I want to leave? And I'm telling you, I mean, I was in my early 20s, I was making, it was lucrative, but for me, the money's important, but it isn't everything. I always go to values. This wasn't aligning with me. I mean, I was crying to my ex-husband at that time, like, I will I'll take half a cut of my salary. I just don't want to be here anymore. I mean, it was that bad. And, if we don't pay attention to how we're feeling and how this is not aligning with us anymore, you feel it. I mean, that stuff starts to manifest in your health. Luckily, I didn't get there, but I was already paying attention to it. So for me, the shift was easy in the sense that I recognized quickly it wasn't aligning. So then I just started planning, okay, I need to get licensed here. I need to start learning about this. When do I take the state exams? All those different things. I started really figuring out what I needed to do so that when I did jump ship, it was, somewhat seamless. So for me, it's a matter of like, where's my joy going to be? I can stay here. And too many people, I think, there's a lot of people that are either burnt out, not happy. And I know the common thing I'm going to hear is like, well, I can't just quit my job. Yeah, but then what's the contingency plan? Are you planning, if you don't want to be there, if you're not happy, you can't stand your boss, whatever the case may be, what are you doing? Are you thinking about where you can go? Are you thinking about your talents? Are you thinking about your core genius? What is it that you can do? And what are you doing about it? Because too often people are not thinking about that next step. They just sit there and go, I hate my job, or I hate whatever I'm doing. And then it stays there. And so again, I want to encourage somebody that's listening. If you're in that situation, start thinking about what is it that you can do so that you can leave something that is life sucking. You know that feeling. You're hating it when Monday comes. You're hating it because you don't want to see certain people at your job or wherever the situation is. But what is it that you're doing so that you can start finding joy, so that you can start being excited to wake up and work on that new idea? Because all of us have these ideas inside us. It's just, what are you doing to birth those things?
So for some people that can sound so far out there, like it would never happen. That's so out of reach. How do you encourage, what do you say to that?
Yeah, that's very true, because some people may feel that way. So I think one of the best things that you can do is start tapping into communities. There's so many online, so many of like women supporting women, those types of communities. If it's an entrepreneurial thing that you want to do, maybe it's not entrepreneurial, but there's a certain niche or group of people that do a certain thing. Go on Facebook, go there and start looking on like these online groups and find something and start building online relationships with these people and get surrounded by people that can start encouraging you, because you want to condense timeframes. If you keep going at it alone and by yourself and trying to figure it out by yourself, you're going to set yourself back so far. But if you can find people that you can, hook arms with and start getting, feedback, advice. I mean, so many people are, it's amazing how encouraging people are. And mind you, not everybody's going to be nice, but that's just the reality of it. But for the most part, they're going to be very, very encouraging people. They'll tell you like, oh yeah, you know what, here's some resources, or here's some groups that I'm also in. You might want to check this out. I mean, I see it all the time. And it's such a beautiful thing when women can really connect with one another and show support to one another. There are so many groups out there, because I do run into people that say, I don't know where to start. I don't know anybody, I've never done this before. And that's okay. That is totally okay. Everybody's got to start somewhere. But the more that you can start looking into how do you start building this community of supportive people around you, you're going to go so much further, especially if you are in a situation where your partner or your spouse or your family and friends, I hear this one often too, they are not supportive of your dreams. Don't feel bad, because again, it's one of those things, you do not want to allow yourself to get stuck there. You don't want yourself to start leaning on like, well, I can't do anything, my family doesn't support me. No, you got to do something about it. You got to take yourself out of that situation and love from afar. That's what I call it, love from afar, and start building your online community, your friends, these people that you can get to know in these groups. You'll be amazed at how many people will totally reach out and help you. And you need that, especially if you don't have that support system from your immediate friends and family.
Yeah, that's so true. And after you said that, I was like, oh, that's right. Once I started to look at new jobs, like all the groups I found on Facebook, and so they do exist. It's just we're kind of afraid to reach out there for it. So I think that's really wonderful advice.
Yeah.
Or I think sometimes we may forget that that's a resource, not that you have to find the job posting, or you don't have to navigate it by yourself. And Jen, you've said this twice tonight already, and it's such an important part. Don't do it alone. Don't do
Yeah.
it alone, because if you want to cut down the time it's going to take for you to get where you want to go, reach out for help, let people know. And those people that aren't supportive, like you said, find ones that are. And it sounds so easy, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to sting, and it's going to suck. And it doesn't matter how many times you feel it. I don't think it ever feels okay, but you just want to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to add something. There's a lot of people that get involved with, let's say, multi-level marketing companies, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't even matter what you get involved with. And then a lot of people will get discouraged, like, well, my friends and family don't support me and whatnot. You have to remember, everything has niches. Every group, there's groupings. When you think about an email list or a contact list, you got your business friends, you got the church group, you got my sisters I play bunco with, there's segments, right? And I love this analogy. I heard it once. I'm like, oh, this is so brilliant. If we could just only look at the friends and family are not the people always that you're going to sell to, or the people that you can't always expect to support and buy from you, it just gave it this different twist and this different perspective of oh, if I look at it like that, then why am I expecting them to buy? Because they're not your people. They may not necessarily need your service or whatever it is that you want to buy, because here's the thing. If they don't truly need it, why would you want them to buy it? Just so you can say you sold something, but that's not the perfect client. That's not the perfect buyer for you. You want raving fans. You want somebody that loves what you do, loves what you're selling, so that they can talk about it. Not somebody that felt coerced or forced to buy it because you're earning points or something. And so when you look at it like that, it just makes it easier when you realize, okay, those are not my people. They are in a segmented contact list that, you know what, we have to alter our expectations from that particular group. They're not your people. So why do we make ourselves feel bad because they're not supporting us when they're not your people to buy your stuff? And this is, again, going back to that Facebook group. This is why it's so important to build, relationships in those online communities. And just like you said, Shauna, in those Facebook communities, definitely that's how it has to happen. And it's so different today. The resources that we have did not exist 16 years ago. I'm telling you, it was horrible when I started. It is not this. There's no Instagram. There was no Facebook. I mean, when was it? Yeah, I was already in this before Facebook even really went, public. And even then, I still remember the way it looked like. It was so archaic. And I mean, I remember my first post. I'm like, I don't even know what this is. I'm like feeling good. Like, this is.
I know. It was like your name and is, and you're like, happy?
I'm eating a hamburger. Like, I didn't understand this whole social media thing. I mean, that's the thing too. If you haven't used social media for business, it's different, because I've heard people say things like, oh, that stuff is just for posting pictures of your food. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not. It is so much bigger than that. Expand your mind, because if you really start to understand these resources that are available to you, oh my goodness, it's amazing what's out there waiting for you to tap into.
I love that so much. And yeah, I like when you get the updates on the memories for your social media, when it gives you your old thing that you used to post. I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, why did I care that I was walking 5 feet? Like, nobody needed to know that.
You're so right. I know. I especially the ones that from 11 years ago. And
yeah,
I do the same thing. I'm like, why the heck did I post? That's so weird.
Well, you have a podcast with our good dear friend, Dr. Summer Watson. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that kind of came to be and what the goal and mission is of that?
Yes, absolutely. I even have my mug here.
I saw your coffee mug.
So Shauna's referring to Dr. Summer Watson. She's my partner. We do a weekly show called the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen. And so I love how this started. So talk about tapping into resources. We have a mutual friend. I'm going to shout out to LeBron Barton. I'm mixing the letters like you did earlier. And so LeBron, yeah. And so he he knows each Summer and I, and so he connected us. And I was a guest on her show, and that was like almost like a year ago now, I think. And it was like right before the pandemic. So this is like March of last year. And so she was doing a book tour for her book. And then months later, so we totally hit it off. And then, months passed by. So she gets this idea, I think it was it was summer of last year. And she's like, hey, I have this idea. I want to do this show. I was trying to think of who would be a great co-host I get along with. That's a professional. We laugh and we have great chemistry. I mean, I didn't even have to think about it. I know I was driving down a freeway, and I remember it so clearly. I was just like, oh yeah, I'm totally in. And so I love collaborative projects. I love it. I realize that's where I just completely thrive, when I'm working with somebody else and we understand our strengths and our weaknesses. And then like one person is stronger in one area. And then I a lot of times, obviously I'll do like the marketing and the design stuff. And both of us obviously do the conceptual things, and it's just so fun. That's the thing. At the end of the day, it is just so much fun. And so we do this weekly show every Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific, and then 2 p.m. Eastern on Instagram. And then 45 minutes later, we do the same thing on, the other platforms like Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. But we also started out of that, we realized like, we want to grow this bigger. And so we have the Life, Love, and Money collectives, which we have a Facebook group. And so we're currently building that up. And just the whole point is just to encourage people and to get, advice and support in those different areas. And so obviously, so Summer is a doctor of psychology. And then I obviously am I'm a certified money coach. And so, combined with the relationships and love, and then we always talk about core values. And then a lot of times from, my experience, I'm seeing that there's such a correlation to how we feel and our values, and how that manifests in how we use our money, how we look at our money, and how big money is when it comes to living out our lives. And so, we just are just combining our resources as well as our knowledge base, so that we can continue to support people. And just at the end of the day, it's just so that people can thrive and live out their dreams. Because again, it's one of those things we didn't learn in school. You just grow up and then you start adulting and you're like, what, how many times do we go? I don't even know what I'm doing. Yeah. I have said that to myself even a few years back. And even while I was in this space, and I thought, I mean, how many times do you think, like, I don't even know if I'm doing the right thing? Do I need to do something else? And so it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how many times you have to start and stop something new and different, because it's so important that you find that thing that you can align with, because when you do, that's when you have passion. That's what's going to get you to wake up. That's what's going to get you excited no matter what day of the week it is.
Jen, we love the Life, Love, and Money show. Like, it is so good. And you and Dr. Summer Watson have such awesome chemistry with each other. And so it's really fun too, especially when you guys field the questions that you get. I mean, you guys kind of jump anywhere from finance, credit cards, loans, savings, to love, intimacy, sex. I mean, you guys cover it all. And so it's so cool. And it's like, it's hot topics, but you guys do it so well. So love that show.
Thank you. It's so encouraging. Yeah, it is interesting to see how it's all related and intertwined, especially like, money and the love and relationships. And so, especially with quarantine, there were so many different dynamics that had come up because of these different situations that we are now finding ourselves in. And then, I mean, with the financial meltdown that happened last spring, I can't believe it's going to be almost a year. There were so many different things that have happened. And so people's lives have been thrown into a giant whirlwind. And so it's just so important for us to just reach out and to support people and, address these different topics that we are all dealing with right now.
For sure. Have you always, I mean, not that you always have done it right, I'm not saying that, but have you always kind of had a good grasp on your finances, and you wanted to understand what you were doing? Or was there a time when you kind of had to dig yourself back up?
Oh my gosh, no. And that's the part that's like, what the heck? I'm in this field and like, no. And so I want to encourage you, even with somebody like me that has, experience in this field, it is so powerful that when you go through very difficult times, whether it be a death, whether it be loss of a marriage, it could be anything. those things can be very detrimental to your mental state, to the way you think. And so again, this is why I always go back to, excuse me, financial forgiveness. And so quick side note. So what happened was when I explained that I was married before. And so when we got divorced, I mean, I lost everything. The mediation was horrible. It was not fair. And I'm going through like all this mental anguish. And I'm thinking like, is he looking out for my best interests, or is he just tricking me? Or is he being fair? I mean, and then, oh, are we going to save this? So there's like the money thing. And then there's the relationship side of things. And obviously like at the end of the day, we didn't stay together, but it was the aftermath. And I mean, when the fog clears and the dust settles, and then I look back and thinking like, oh my gosh, like what the heck did I say yes to? And I look at all the mistakes in terms of like what I approved and what I signed off on. And I'm thinking, I totally got screwed. And I allowed myself to go through it. And so it's so crazy that when people are going through certain situations in life, I think it's so important for people to realize, get help. I was like, it was my ego and my pride. I'm like, I didn't want to ask anybody. I didn't want to burden anybody. I thought like, well, I'm in this field. I should know what I'm doing. Like, no, that was so stupid. Didn't know what I was doing. Totally messed up from going through that situation of the divorce and trying to undo and figure out what are we doing with the money or whatever was left of it, and having to recover from that. And you talk about digging yourself out. Yeah, it was after he got, basically what happened, he got away scot-free. No responsibilities that were, everything was in my name. The mediator sucked, lack of a better word, totally sucked, didn't look out for my best interest, and didn't even have the foresight to go like, well, you know what, if you take this route, this is what you're going to end up with 10 years from now, and XY. Didn't even look at any of that. So she was horrible. So get a good mediator that's going to look at that stuff. And it was just bad. And so it was this, and there were some other situations that came out of it where I started to show the paperwork. Mind you, by this point in time, it had already been 2 years since the stamp was put that we got divorced. And then I showed the paperwork to, I was trying to figure out some stuff with one of the properties I had multiple houses at that time. And I showed this paperwork to an attorney, a family law attorney. And I remember one of them said, like, how did this even go through? Who filed this? And I said, I don't know. The mediator's like, this was done incorrectly. I don't even know how this went through. And I said, well, how do I fix this? It was something with the property. And then she said, well, you would have to undo the divorce, redo that paperwork, and then get divorced again. And this was my face. I said, forget it. I'll take the loss. I didn't
even know you could undo a divorce.
I didn't either. And I was thinking, are you kidding me? You know how long it took to get here? And when am I going to have to reopen that wound? And at that point, I was like, no, I just had this mindset of like, I'll just fix it. I'll just move on from here. I don't want to. You have to pick your battles. Do you really want to fight and go back and undo all that again? Was it really worth it? I just said, no, screw it. So I just figured, I'll deal with this, and then I'll figure out the steps that I need to recover from it. And so I took that route. But, it's so crazy. You look back, and it's funny when I see the things that people are going through. My biggest thing is to have compassion and to just encourage that person, like, trust me, you're going to be fine. Because I remember what I went through. I remember the mess. And I remember that there is a moment where you just feel like, I don't know what I'm doing. I give up. This is such a big, horrific situation. And it can feel like it's never going to get better. You look at the numbers and sometimes they're scary, but there's always hope. There is always a solution. Everything is always fixable over time.
It's not that quick fix that we all want sometimes.
Not always.
You have to.
Not always.
Well, Jen, we ask all of our guests the big question that I know you've probably heard us ask, and we've asked this in our questionnaire that we send out to you, but we like to know what your red bra moment is. And we consider, the red bra a symbol of strength, whether you can see it under your clothes or not. It's that confidence that you feel like, you've got it and you're going to take on this moment. It can be something big or small, but if there's something you're thinking about that you could share with us.
Absolutely. I love this question. I would say my Red Bra Project moment is I describe myself as fire ready aim. And what I mean by that is, if you know the way that the phrase goes, it's the opposite. But for me, what I mean by that is that I love opportunity. I'm like this rogue kind of person, which is for myself. I'm not, I understand if I'm coaching, I'm not going to tell you to do something crazy. I'm saying for myself, for myself. And so I just love opportunity. And there was a time when I had to make this transition. I'll tell you the quick story. So then when I was working for GTE, which eventually became Verizon. Okay. And so there was this moment where I didn't get promoted to a certain position. This is when Yellow Pages, this is so long, 20 plus years ago, when Yellow Pages was making the shift to online marketing. Like, oh my gosh, I'm looking back in my brain, like the old online page is so archaic. And I was pissed. I was pissed that I did not get hired. I was already there, but I did not get moved to that team. But you know what? There are so many times when things don't work out the way you think they should have worked out. Those are blessings, because, I don't know what y'all believe, but it's like, I truly believe that we have to realize that, God, whatever you believe in, closes certain doors because you're not meant to walk through them. And we sometimes think it was a defeat, but actually those are setups. Because if you had gone through that door, you're not supposed to go through, you're going to miss out on something else down the road. And so I didn't get it. I was so angry. I was like, I quit like within a couple of weeks. Ironically, what happened was this old company that I was working for before, it was like this small mom and pop a printing graphics company. They were totally small, mom and pop owned type of thing. And they asked me, like, hey, do you want to become a co-owner? I didn't even think twice. I was just like, yeah, I'm gone. No benefits. It was not a big company. And so those types of moments have happened for me many, many times. I love startup life. I love it. I love it. I don't know how it's going to work. I don't look for that guarantee. The only guarantee that I look for is if I'm passionate about it, I love the mission. Do I love what my part to contribute into it is going to be? What can I offer? What kind of value can I bring to the team and to this potential company that we want to grow? Has it always worked out? No, but I love the thrill of it. I love saying yes to those types of things. And so when I think about, your logo and this red cape flying, I think about how when you can use that passion and that energy to really go after it. I'm that kind of person that will just jump and I'll figure out how to make the parachute as I'm falling down. Yeah. And has it always worked out? No. But if we're always looking for that safety, if we're always looking for that guarantee, I always think about, what am I saying no to? What am I potentially missing out on because I'm looking only for those guaranteed moments? You think about this, you ever watch those behind the scenes when they make a movie? Yeah. Or any kind of bio of somebody famous for an invention or something? You don't get wowed because they took it the safe route, right? You're wowed because you're like, whoa, that was crazy. Yeah. They had no money left. They wrapped. Now again, I'm not saying to do this, but what I'm trying to drive home is that there are going to be those moments where you have to say yes to you, yes to that dream, yes to that passion, because if you say yes to that, you're going to figure it out. If you believe that you're going to figure it out, if you're willing to reach to your resources and again, the community, if you're willing to reach out to the community that you need to build around you, you're always going to find the answer. You're always going to tap into those resources. You're always going to find that solution. It's not that you have to look at it like, oh, I'm always going to constantly fail. This isn't going to work. You cannot think that way because you will stay in that space. But if you're always looking for that solution, it's going to take you so many different places. Then you're going to look back and like, wow, I did that. I can't believe we went through that. And it is such an exciting ride. So that for me is my Red Bra Project moment.
That's so good. Shauna,
love
can you see Jen's red cape flying behind her against
I know. I'm like, she should like be our new graphic now. We'll just have Jen stand there and model it.
Oh, that was so good. Jen, you have like such great insight and wisdom, and it's based on things you've been through in your own experiences. Who kind of do you look to when you need a mentor or somebody to follow, or you need some inspiration?
Oh my gosh, it's summer. Yeah, it's
Aw.
summer. Yeah, I mean, she's like my long lost sister or something. It's so crazy. And it's so crazy because we've never met in real life.
Yeah, but it feels
And
like it, right?
yeah. And I think that's so crazy because there are so many people that I'm very, very close to, and I have never met them in real life. And yet I get excited thinking that moment with Summer, if you're watching, you got to get your butt down here to California. She's from here. She needs to come
She's
back.
a traveler too.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I just love her because, she comes from very grounded experience and obviously professional experience, and her advice is great. And she gets me. Like we laugh about the same stupid stuff. I mean, there's that big sister feeling,
Yeah.
but then there's also that I'm also your friend.
Yeah.
And so I know, and she does the devil's advocate. How is she? She's like, okay, but I want you to think about this.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love it. I mean, and there's times that I'm like, okay, I got to think about this, but it's good. It's good when you have friends that help you and force you, not in a bad way, but force you to really think about the decisions that you're making. And I have to say, because we were building this whole thing with the show and then the collective and everything else, like we always come back when we talk on the show about core values, and she really just honed it in for me. And I remember, you go through that self gut check and you're just like, why is this not working? Why are certain things not aligning? And then I always laugh with her because I tell her I'm the case study for this show. Like behind the scenes, there's a lot of stuff we laugh about, and there's a lot of things I'm going through personally that I told her, like, yeah, everything I'm talking to her about, I go, that could be another question for next week. I'm going through it, and we just laugh about it. But she's just been so awesome as a partner, as a friend, as like a big sis, and so important for us to have that. So important for us, especially as women, to have that person that you can look up to. But, I think the other beautiful thing is that, we're also equals, we're colleagues, but when we have such great respect for one another, and being able to communicate openly and not have that passive, aggressive type of thing, and not being afraid to say like, that doesn't work, or, well, what do you think about this? And not take offense to the idea that might be opposing to what you offered. So just being very, very open and honest, it's so important for us to have, especially if you're diving into this entrepreneurial path, the coaching path, whatever the path, it's like, it's so, so, so important to have these kinds of people in your corner, in your life.
So good. And Dr. Summer Watson was one of our guests, and she's an incredible woman. We collaborated with her to put on Unstoppable, our virtual event, in which Jen was an amazing speaker. She was our strategic financial speaker. It was just such an awesome event. I cannot believe that was 2 months ago already, but man, it was awesome.
It was so good. Oh my gosh, you guys are so awesome. The whole thing was executed so professionally and well done. And let me tell you all, if you're looking for somebody to run your online event, oh my gosh, you're right here. The level of
Renee.
The level of detail. I'm telling you, I've worked with other, event planners, and nothing was missing. She's so meticulous. It's so good. I mean, it was unreal. I was thoroughly impressed. So anybody out there doing an online event, you got to go to this woman because
oh my gosh, I'm blushing. I'm gonna have to
yeah, oh my gosh, I'm telling you, because if I have to read somebody's email and then I have to come back with 20 million questions because it wasn't addressed, I'm not happy. But Renee's emails and level of attention and detail, I was just like, she is good.
Yeah, people are like, run.
No, you need her.
So sweet.
Take this soundbite and add it to your LinkedIn.
Yes. Totally use it. Yeah, I have this message.
Thank you so much for that. Can you please tell all of our listeners how they can get more of Jen, and like what is free to come and hang out and learn more about you and your style, and what is paid? So if you can tell us the differences.
Okay, so what is what? I'm sorry.
Like if they want to join a free community or come and see some and things like that, or if they want to work with you professionally one-on-one, what does that look like? Are you able to accept any clients right now?
Yes, absolutely. So you can find me easily on social media. Facebook or Instagram is simply at Jen Money Coach, JEN Money Coach, or you can go to my site, jenmoneycoach.com. And if you heard about the community, the Life, Love, and Money Collective that Summer and I run, just find Life, Love, and Money Collective on Facebook. And we'd love to have you in our community to support you and just lift you up and inspire you so that you can live, the ultimate life that you want, and to just elevate in those different areas of your life. And so in terms of working with me, yes, if you have any questions, I would love to just, let's just have a chat, because I might not be the person for you, or what you need is not something that I offer, but you won't know that until you chat. So if you just go to my site, jenmoneycoach.com, you can just book the 30 minutes and let's just talk. A lot of times it might not be something that's for you, might not be ready, and that's okay. But I will always give you some kind of advice so that you can walk away and just take some kind of steps to move forward from whatever situation that you're in.
You're so good.
I love it so much. Jen, we've said this with other guests, but definitely with you, I feel like we could have a part 2 or a part 3. There's so many layers to your wonderful story. But we do end every episode with a quote, and your quote that we chose for you is, "When we learn how to become resilient, we learn to embrace the beautiful, broad spectrum of the human experience," by Jada DeWalt. And I just feel like you are that. You are just so resilient. And that's why I think there's so many layers we didn't get to in your story that I know people will connect with. And so we're definitely going to be staying in touch with you.
Definitely. Please do that. Thank you so much. I love the quote.
We love you. I'm so glad we were able to connect with you.
Yes, I know. Such a great experience.
But for all of you, Jen has listed all of her information. We will definitely link it up on our YouTube page, and along with if you follow us over at the Red Bra Project. But before we say goodnight tonight, we have a very exciting announcement. You can now watch us over on our YouTube channel, or listen to us over on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. If you visit our Instagram page at the Red Bra Project, you can use our link tree and find all the different ways that you can connect on our podcast. Please leave us a review and some comments on what you loved and what you'd love to see. And as always, you can make suggestions over on the redbraproject.com. That is a lot of info, but we will link it all up for you. And we're so glad you joined us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.